This book is one of the most brilliant books I have read in a really long time. It is so full of wisdom, and I'm going to give you a few things that stood out for me. But first, I want to mention something that's particularly stood out for me. So what Shubhra has done is that she has redefined wealth from what we have been socialized to believe wealth is. She has completely changed that meaning and redefined it and she calls it true wealth. And she redefines it from the material possessions or money, as everyone just assumes it is, to alignment with God's will and purpose. She says that wealth is fundamentally tied to our identity with God. Another thing that she says is that true wealth is in everybody, and it comes in the form of peace, contentment, love, joy. And if you think about it, or if you read this book, you will realize that these things are inherent. They are not external things. External things can't give you, they can give you satisfaction, but they can't give you fulfillment. She also talks about what we are all searching for. We've been socialized to believe that wealth, pursuit of wealth, is what we are looking for. But if you think about it, what we really want is peace and contentment and joy and connection and love. She also goes on to redefine something that I found truly interesting, which was poverty. She says that, and it's something Jesus said. Jesus said that the poor will always be among you. But now what she added is a perspective that I never thought of. I always assumed that poverty is money related. But poverty can also come in the form of emotional poverty or psychological poverty, spiritual poverty, emotional poverty. If someone is going through something less than in all those areas, then they are poor. And instead of running away, because we never want to be part of those poor people that Jesus talked about, we always seek to run away. We should see it as an opportunity to respond with the wealth that we have, the peace, the contentment, a word of encouragement, compassion, forgiveness. That is how you know that you are wealthy. That reinforces true wealth within us. So she talked about stewardship, which is a concept I hadn't heard of in a really long time. Everything that we possess that God has given us, like time, talents, ability, money, and also relationships, are part of the things that we possess and we should be wise stewards of. But what stood out for me was relationships. How am I in my relationships? Do I claim to love a God that I haven't seen? And I treat my neighbor or the people that I'm responsible for, the relationships that I'm responsible for, in a manner that is less than God would want from me. That really got me thinking. She talked of the need to value people over possessions because people are the true treasure. Other than that, there are some things that she debunked. When she says it's not that obvious, this is because there are some things that we have been made to believe, or rather that I believed. So for example, success equals material wealth and power. She says that's not true. Another misconception was follow your heart. You need to read to understand what she means, but she says that's a misconception. Another one is more is always better. I can give you something. Contentment is one of the most counter-cultural virtues we can cultivate. Basically, that to mean contentment is not celebrated. And then the last misconception is wealth equals God's blessings. And you'd again have to read to understand. There's something I also want to say. Throughout this book, I've just been getting into very deep states of contemplation because it has a lot of wisdom and it was very timely for me. But two things I observed. If I read this book a few, maybe years ago, I would have been triggered, to be honest, because I would have felt like she was attacking the one thing that I thought. I was like, no, I need money to survive. What do you mean? So I would have just been reading and criticizing and feeling all triggered. The second thing I observed was how not triggered I was and how I resonated with everything she was saying. Literally everything in this book. That made me realize that the journey that I've taken on my spiritual path has actually matured me. It has actually made me long to do God's will, long for my purpose, maybe find my purpose, and be able to distinguish the two. Realize what material comforts are for in my life. They are a tool that is important, but also realize that my master is one and is God. And I am honestly just interested in aligning my will with Him and serving the world through the gifts that He has given me. What I am looking forward to is seeing more book reviews on this book, or maybe meeting someone who has read it to see if it gives them insight or a different way of looking at wealth and looking at money and looking at the purpose and God's will for them. But I can assure you this is a book worth reading. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you again in the next clip. Goodbye.